Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be installing the Alpine speaker upgrade kit from HEPA. This is a full speaker replacement with the accompanying mounting brackets. We're going to be installing the driver's side woofer, the 3 mid-range speakers in the dash, the passenger side door woofer, and the passenger side tweeter, and the driver's side tweeter. So stick around. If you like what you see, smash that like button, and let's get into it. Alright, so we're going to get to the unboxing, and we have the front door woofer, either passenger or driver's side. You can see the carbon fiber cone on the Alpine speakers is beautiful, nicely adorned. You have the factory OEM harness connector here, pre-installed at the factory by HEPA, and they have their custom 3D printed mounting bracket already affixed to the speaker, which is a lifesaver as far as time saving and labor saving. These are the tools that come in the package. You have a pry tool, and you have this proprietary little ratchet with a shaved down T20 bit, which is extremely helpful when you're doing the front dash tweeter mid-range speakers. This is going to be a lifesaver. If you don't have this tool, you will be cursing up a storm because it's a very tight fit. So that's included with the package. You also get a regular size T20 bit, which is useful for the other screws that you can get to easily. You have a flat pry tool. This will help you get the door panels off of the door. And they also include a roll of 3M foam tape, and that's going to be used to make some soundproofing and sealing around these speakers once they're installed. Here's the back of the door woofer. These are the Alpine DP 653 speakers. These retail for anywhere between $150 to $200 each. You can see the foam tape on the back of the mounting bracket there. And this is all 3D printed by HEPA at their factory and pre-installed prior to arriving. So your speakers will arrive just like this. You can see the soldering job there is perfect. Another OEM connector. Here is the mid-range dash speakers. Again, pre-mounted at the factory. 3-hole mounting system. You have the carbon fiber cone, and you have the OEM plugs already pre-wired at the factory. And again, DP653 Alpine speaker, very large magnet, great for airflow, pulls a lot of air in, makes a lot better sound. And these will go, all 3 of these will go in the front dash. You have here in this little compartment, you have your 2 door tweeters. These are the 2 smaller speakers that are up by your mirror. And again, these are pre-wired at the factory. You do have to wrap some foam tape around these. When we do the install, you'll see how that's done. The weight on these is significantly greater than the stock OEM tweeters. So again, you check out the back there. It does come with the grill just to protect it in shipping, but all the soldering job is great. The mounting bracket here is for the subwoofer speaker. I am not doing the subwoofer install in this video. I'm going to do a separate video, but this is the bracket that comes with the kit. You can see the factory harness there to connect into your OEM subwoofer. If you have a third-party subwoofer, you don't have to use this kit at all. I have an SR Plus, so I have an aftermarket subwoofer installed in the OEM housing, so I'm not going to be doing the subwoofer install in this. For this installation, you'll need the following tools: a ratcheting screwdriver handle, a Torx 30 bit, a Torx 20 bit, which is supplied with this purchase, a Torx 20 low profile bit, which is also supplied with this purchase, a low profile ratcheting tool, which is also supplied with this purchase, a plastic pry tool of your choice. One is supplied, however, one with a bent edge is preferred. You'll need a roll of 3M foam tape, which is supplied, and we recommend a pair of scissors or shears to trim any foam tape that you use. Alright, so for the installation, we're going to start with the driver's side door. You're going to remove this reflector at the edge of the door. Use your pry tool and just give it a little twist at the bottom. It should pop right out. And you can see the T30 screw is right there. You'll need a T30 bit, and on the back here you can see it says the word up for when putting it back in. You want to orient it in that position. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take our T30 driver and we're going to remove this screw. There are a total of 3 T30 screws in each door panel that need to be removed to access the door woofer to replace it. So we've got that screw removed. We're going to go now underneath where the pocket lights are. That purple is just a lens from my car. We're going to take the T30 bit and remove the screw under here. There is no cover on the screw, it's bare, so you should be able to find it right away. Take that screw out. Now you're going to go in front of your door opening mechanism. There's a little plastic cover. Take your pry tool, give it a little twist, it should pop right off, and there you can see the T30 bit. Just hang on to that plastic cover. We're going to reinstall it afterwards. This one you're going to have to get a little low to get the angle right to get the screw out, but again, it should come out pretty easily. I'm using a low power drill here. You can use a hand tool or ratcheting tool as well, it's fine, as long as you have a T30 bit. Alright, so now that we have all of these screws out, there are about 7 or 8 clips that go around this door panel. We're going to have to pop those off. They're on there pretty good, so make sure your window is down. And we're going to take the pry tool in the outside corner. We're going to wedge it in there as best as you can. Don't worry, you're not going to break anything. And if you want to use a finger or grab on, you should just twist and pop, and the first couple of pins should pop out. And then you'll just go around the bottom of the door and pull. You don't have to give it a hard tug, but a good solid pull will get some of those clips loosened right away. It's not going to come off very easily, but it shouldn't give you too difficult over time. You can use the pocket for leverage if you need to. And that speaker grill there is where the door woofer that we'll be replacing is. So there you can see it came loose, and now it'll be hanging from the top. So we're going to just give it another little twist and pop those off, and the panel will come right off. It is attached by some wiring harnesses, so just catch it as it falls. And there's the pins that are attaching to the actual door. And you can see there's about 7 or 8 of them in total. And when we're reinstalling the panel, those are going to be useful for alignment. You can see the soundproofing there, and those are where the clips will mount into the door panel. So take a look at all the different wiring here going on, your window regulator, and there's all the clips, and you can see the woofer is exposed, and that's what we'll be working with. So we're going to go ahead and identify the door woofer, and there are 4 8mm bolts that we're going to have to remove. So use a socket wrench with an 8mm socket, and you're going to go ahead and loosen all 4 of those bolts. I don't recommend using a power tool here. A hand tool is better. Once you get all 4 of those bolts removed, the speaker is still clipped into the plastic housing, so you're going to have to press on those 2 tabs at the top or bottom and just take the tension off of the tabs. And once you get the top 2 or bottom 2 loose, the speaker will just kind of come out of position, and you can remove it from the door frame. It's not as easy as it looks. The clips are pretty tight. Just be careful because it is plastic, so use a plastic pry tool. Nothing that's going to cause too much damage. And there you can see the speaker came loose, and we just pull it out, and we're going to press down on the little green tab on the factory connector, and we'll be able to remove the OEM door woofer from the vehicle. There's the tab there. The pry tool helps, just wedge it in between the black and green, and it will help you get the connector loose. So now we have the new door woofer. You can already see what an improvement it is, and those 4 holes will line up, and you want the green factory harness facing upwards. So don't orient it based on where the Alpine logo is, orient it based on where the green factory harness is, and you're going to clip the entire woofer and mounting bracket in place, and the clips will hold it there. And then you can just go ahead and hand tighten the 4 8mm bolts, get them all in by hand, and then you can go ahead and either in a star pattern or cross pattern, just go ahead and tighten them up. Don't over tighten them, you just want them nice and snug so that the speaker is not rattling and we're going to put the foam tape all the way around the chrome bezel of the speaker, and that is just to prevent any rattling, or it's really for noise cancellation. We're going to go ahead and make that connection to the factory harness, and you should hear a nice click. Now that speaker is in. So we're going to push up on those clips and remove the tweeter housing. It's going to come straight up. And if you press on the bottom of these brass tabs here, that will help you remove the housing. It should come right out. There should be no resistance. And you can see the wiring harness there. We're just going to take a flat blade screwdriver and remove that. So now once you have the tweeter harness, you're going to spread it apart and twist the tweeter, and that should pop it right out of the housing there, like you see. And now we're going to take our replacement tweeter, and this is where we're going to wrap the foam tape around. You're going to wrap it around 2 full times, and that will give us a nice seal inside the tweeter housing. So go ahead and peel the backing off of the foam tape. Doesn't matter where you start. And you want to go right around the edge of the tweeter, just like so. Make sure you're keeping even pressure and try to keep it as straight as you can as you go around both times. You can cut any excess off. And you're going to go ahead and fit the tweeter in. Okay, you're going to make sure that the foam tape sits inside the mount, and you can pry this mount apart by hand a little bit, and you can see that the foam tape makes a nice tight fit and also alleviates any rattling or noise that could potentially come. So you can see that it's nicely fit in there. It's snug, it's not going to move. Now we're going to go back to the door panel, and we're going to reattach our trim panel or door card. You're going to hang the top from where the window goes up and down. There's a little ledge. So you're going to hang that on there, and that will help you with alignment. Remember, those 8 pins have to line up with those holes. So once you get it leveled on the top there, you can slide it left and right to line it up. You can see there everything is set in place. And here, let's take a look. You can see where those pins need to line up. So once you get that alignment, your door card should kind of fall into place just like that. And then you want to just give it a little press, and they should start to pop into place. You can give it a little side fist, hammer fist. That will help too. Just make sure all those pins are reseated. Use the top of the door for leverage. And it's really hard not to align this properly. The pins won't go in unless it's properly in place. So that's how it looks back on. And you want to just give it a couple of whacks. Make sure everything is in line. Just like that. And you can see that door panel around, no problem. So now we're going to go ahead and take our new tweeter. We're going to take that factory harness that's sticking out there, and we're going to grab it, and we're going to marry it up with the new tweeter harness. It's a plug and play connection. Make sure it snaps in place. We're going to stuff all of that wiring down into that opening where the factory harness is coming out of. And this is just make sure you have enough room. And when you're putting that harness, the tweeter back on, just make sure it catches on. Now we're going to get our T30 screws. Doesn't matter which one you start with, but here we're going to start with the door release button. We're going to get that in. Make sure it's nice and tight. We're going to get our little plastic cover. We're going to reinsert that, 1 pin at the top, and press down. And then we're going to get our bottom pocket light screw. And again, that purple lens is just to change the color of the pocket lights. Those are from Abstract Ocean. I'll leave a link in the description for those. Get that second screw in, and now we're going to take our third screw, and this one you can see as you press on the door card, it'll line up the screw properly. We're going to get that nice and tight in there, and then we're going to take our lens, remember facing up where the word up appears, and we're going to press it back into that opening. And our driver's side door, once that is back in, will be completed. So now we're going to go over to the passenger side door. We're going to repeat the entire process that we did with the driver's side door. We're going to go ahead and identify the lens. We're going to remove it with the pry tool. There's that T30 screw or bolt. We're going to get that out with the T30 bit. And again, I'm using a drill here just to facilitate filming, but you can use a hand tool. There's no issue with that. And the 3 screws or bolts are going to be in the same location as the driver's side. Doesn't matter which one you start with. There's one at the door release, one at the pocket light, and then there's one at the rear reflector of the door panel. And go ahead and remove the plastic cover. Again, pry tool, just give it a little twist, pop right out. And we'll get that T30 screw out. This one is tricky getting the angle, but once you get it, it should come right out. And again, same amount of pins in this door. We're going to just pull it off the bottom using the pry tool. Start at the rear right corner, and now we have the panel off, and you can see the woofer and everything is in the same situation. So we'll go ahead and remove those 8mm bolts around the door woofer. And again, everything here is identical to the driver's side. It's just the orientation of the door, but 8mm bolts, same factory harness. And again, these tabs are a little tricky. Just take your time and separate the factory harness. Here's our new woofer going in. And again, you can really see the massive improvement in the quality and the shape and construction of the speakers. Between the size of the magnet, the carbon fiber cones, these will significantly improve the soundstage of your car. And so we're going to go ahead and attach the factory harness again. And we're going to put the foam tape all the way around the chrome bezel of the speaker, and that is just to prevent any rattling, or it's really for noise cancellation. Alright, and then we're going to go ahead and put the door card back on. Do it the same way. We're going to hang it from the top, fit it on, slide it left and right until the pins fall into place, and then we're going to just give it slight pressure all around the door, fitting in those clips. You should hear a nice pop every time they go in. And then we're going to go ahead and remove the woofer as we did on the other door. And on this side, I'll show you a little more detail on how to get the woofer harness removed, because sometimes it is difficult. The driver's side didn't have an issue. On this side it did, but take a flathead screwdriver and just insert it inside, and it will help you remove it. We're going to wrap the tweeter again 2 times in foam, and you're going to make sure that you catch that lip, reinserting the tweeter, and reinstall. I'm going to put the 3 bolts back in. Again, the order doesn't matter. 1, 2, 3. We're going to put back the plastic covers and the reflectors. Remember, the reflector, the word up should be facing up. And we are all set with door number 2. Again, there's the word up. Pop it back in place. So first thing we're going to do is remove the plastic trim pieces on the driver's side. Just take your pry tool. That might pop right off. It might come off a little more difficult. This triangular panel here, just this 3 clips, just separate those. And then the A-pillar panel here, just pull up from the top. Now we're going to go into the A-pillar. This is very tricky. You're going to take your time. The pry tool is not exactly very helpful in getting this panel separated. There are 3 pretty heavy-duty clips that are here. There's also a tether that keeps this panel in place for the airbag so it doesn't hurt you in a crash, God forbid. And you're going to just take your time and pull those straight down from the A-pillar. And I'll show you behind there's the tether. And you just want to wiggle this panel towards you, out towards the back of the car. There is a fin that fits in the front by the window, which I'll show in a second, that you're going to want to remove from the dash. So once you get that removed, this is the speaker grill. You're going to go all the way around, and this is just held in by by clips. So you're going to take your pry tool and get those clips there. You will have to go on both sides of the car to get it completely freed, and you'll see it just pops out, and there are your mid-range speakers. And we're going to start with the driver's side, and you can see those screws are really close to the glass, so this is where that tool that HEPA King includes is really instrumental here. So you have that flat T20 bit that's going to help you get really up against the glass without damaging it. If you have window tint on your front windshield, I highly recommend putting some painter's tape or a cloth to protect your tint. You will hit the glass a few times no matter what you do. So you're going to remove all three of those screws. The wiring harness here is a little short, so you want to give yourself some working room. Don't let that cable fall into the dash. And you're going to remove the speaker wire. Just press down the little black tab and separate it from the speaker. And if you've ever removed the footwell lights in your car, this is the same type of connector. So it's removed the same way. We're going to take out that new mid-range speaker. We're going to go ahead and first connect it to our factory harness. This way you don't risk the factory harness falling down into the dash, and then you got to go fishing for it. And again, it's just a simple click. We're going to stuff that harness down into the dash, and the speaker holes here will only line up one way. It's like an arrowhead shape, and I definitely recommend taking your time here. Just hand tighten in those screws. They're smaller than the other ones in the door, and they will fall into the dash, and then you're going to have melted chocolate in the dash, as Tommy Boy would say. Great movie, by the way. So go ahead and hand tighten those. Take your time here, don't rush. And then we're going to go ahead and get the third screw lined up. And again, see, I already dropped one there. Just make sure you hang on to those screws. Hand tighten down. Once you got them nicely hand tightened, you can go ahead and use the ratcheting tool that HEPA King provided. And you're going to go ahead and tighten those down. Again, don't over tighten, but enough to keep those speakers from rattling in the dash, because that would drive you crazy over time. Alright, go ahead and get those tightened down. That one's in. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the passenger side, and we're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to remove the 3 T20 screws using the special ratcheting tool. And again, I recommend, if you have any type of window tint on your front windshield, you definitely want to protect that. Put a rag there or some painter's tape, just something to keep it from getting marred. Because no matter which way you will do this, you'll hit the glass a few times. Go ahead and remove the tweeter. The mid-range speaker. And again, you want to do your best to not let that factory harness fall back into that cavity. So just hold on to it while you're separating the black push pin. Again, here everything is finesse. Take your time, don't rush. Haste makes waste. And these connectors are sometimes a little finicky. They're a little difficult to remove, so you also don't want to lose that harness. So, okay, we've got the mid-range freed. We're going to get the new one. First thing we're going to do is connect the harness and go ahead and place your new mid-range into position. It will only go in one position. It's like an arrowhead. Line up those 3 holes, and we're going to go ahead and hand tighten those screws. And again, it's very difficult because of the angle and the amount of space to work with. So just take your time here. Don't let those screws fall. So we're going to go ahead and tighten those down all the way. Nice tight fit. Don't over tighten, but enough so it doesn't wiggle. Alright, we're good to go there. Now we're going to go to the middle. This is especially tricky because you have the center screen in place there. Sorry for the quality here. I had to shoot the video through the windshield and it was starting to get a little foggy out. So the principle here is the same though. There's 3 screws. The one at the front of the windshield is going to be really tough to get to. You can see there to the left on video, on camera, the left of the mid-range speaker, there is a tweeter there. That is not getting replaced. From what HEPA King has told me, that tweeter does not produce as much as the door tweeter, so it's not worth replacing. And that came from them directly, so that tweeter is going to be left alone. So we're going to remove all 3 screws from the mid-range like we did on the other 2 speakers. And again, this one's going to be a lot tougher because you're working around the main display. If you have a screen swivel, it helps a lot, but if you don't, just gotta work gingerly around it. And we're gonna try our best not to let the harness fall down. And you can see it's a very tight space to work with. And we're gonna go ahead and free that harness. Again, we gotta take our time here because we don't want to let that harness fall. We got the speaker free. We're going to go ahead and get our new mid-range, and we're going to connect the harness first, just like we did on the other 2 speakers. And then we're going to make sure those cables go back down into the cavity, and we're going to seat the new mid-range in place. And again, same as the other 2, there's only one proper way this can sit, just like that. And we're going to get our 3 screws, and this one especially, take your time. Don't rush, hand tighten them nice and slowly. Make sure they're solidly in place before you start to ratchet, because if there's only 1 or 2 turns and you go to ratchet and you slip, the screw could pop out, and then good luck finding it. So take your time here. Get a nice hand tight fit first. I'm going to go ahead and tighten them down, same as the other 2. Make sure you have a nice tight fit. Don't over tighten, just enough where they're not rattling and they're solidly in place. All right, we've got all 3 of the speakers in. You take a breath, and we're going to go ahead and replace the mesh. And again, this is just going to be pressing those clips in place. It is a little bit tedious because you do have to put a lot of pressure, and the angle and position is not the easiest. So just take your time here. Make sure the clips are all lined up. It should be flush with the dash. It should be no pieces sticking up or bowing out. It should be flush all the way across. If you see any bumps or raised pieces, you probably didn't press the clip down all the way, so just make sure you give it a good press, and it should seat down in place correctly. We're going to go ahead and just make sure the other side is pressed down. You're going to have to flip-flop from both sides of the car here. That's fine. You can see I'm just pressing down, making sure all those tabs are seated, because once you get that in place, then you're going to go ahead and replace the A-pillar trim panels, which won't seat properly unless the mesh speaker grill is where it needs to be. So take your time here, don't rush. Alright, so everything looks good. Looks like the mesh panel is in place, and we can go ahead and start to go forward with our A-pillar reassembly. Alright, so we're going to start on the passenger side A-pillar, replacing the trim. And we're just going to fit that fin in the front. You can see those 2 little cutouts there. This is very important that you line those up in the grooves. Once you have the mesh replaced, they should fit flush in, and then you should be able to press them forward and it'll kind of lock them in place. There's also a rear fin towards the back end of that almost shark fin looking piece that you want to make sure it gets pressed between the dash and the door trim. So you can see right there I have it fit in, and you're going to go ahead and just make sure that it's over the little lip that's there, and you can go ahead and press it down into that crevice. You can see there now it looks flush, and you're just going to press it forward a little bit, and that will lock those fins into place. You can see here initially I missed that back fin, so I'm going to go ahead and fix that in a second. So So if you miss that fin, just pull it back a little bit and you can pry that up there. Just pick it up and stuff that plastic piece underneath. You want that little dark gray plastic piece underneath the pillar trim. So back it out. And there you go. Now I have it covered. I'm going to tuck the front pieces in again, and those fins will fall right into place. So now the A-pillar trim is correctly assembled in the front, and now we're going to go ahead and just make sure that those clips are in place, and you can press them in place and they'll just seat back in. Going back in is a lot easier than coming out. You do not have to remove the tethers for the airbag protection. You can leave them assembled. And the weather stripping around the door, I just simply pulled it down. You're going to make sure that that goes back on correctly. It just helps removing the pillar trim panel. I'm just making sure everything is back where it belongs. Alright, so you can see the weather stripping here. Once you get that trim panel back on, you just want to take your pry tool or your fingers and pry that weather stripping. And press that panel back in. And remember, when you're putting that panel back in, there's a little hook piece at the bottom. Hook that piece in first, and then press in the pressure tab. And you can see the weather strip fit right over that. That keeps it in place. You're going to take the triangular trim piece, line up the 3 clips, just like so. Those will all pop into place. Give them a good whack if they're not seating properly. And the little cap at the top there goes into those 2 pieces. And we're going to go to the other side, on the driver's side. We're going to do the same thing with the A-pillar trim. It's a little better view of the fins here. And you can see, you want to make sure all 3 of those are lined up, the front 2 and the back 2. And if you have to press in the front, just angle it in a little bit. It's not exactly straight. You can do that. That's fine. It's just a piece of fabric coated plastic. It's malleable. It'll bend to whatever shape you need it to go. So if you have to flex it a little bit, you definitely can. It's not going to break. Go ahead and fit that in, and you can see as you do that, those fins disappear. That's how you know you have a good tight fitment. You're going to press the trim piece forward to lock those fins in. And again, I'm going to remove the weather stripping to get the panel back on. Those cables that you see there are for my accessories. That you're not going to see those cables there, so disregard those. You're going to put the trim panel back in. Again, hook it in from the bottom first, and the weather stripping on this door is still separated, so I'm going to go ahead and reattach that first. You can see it just fits right on that little metal lip that goes all the way around the door, and you could just press it into place. Just make sure you press it all the way up, just like I'm doing here. Go all the way around the door. If you've ever had these door seals replaced, the mobile service rangers can do it at your door. It takes about 5 minutes. So we're going to take the triangular piece here, press it back in place, and the little clip on the top, those 2 fingers have to fit into that little spot there, and we're good. Alright, so I got some copyright-free audio that I'm going to play to show how the soundscape is improved in the car. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the music on, and then I'm going to pan from left to right, cover all the new speakers, so you kind of get an idea of not only the improvement in the immersion of the sound, but also the crispness of the highs and the lows. And I'm going to try to give an idea of how much improved the bass on the 2 door woofers is, just by swapping out the speakers. And again, there's no amps added here. This is basically just swapping out speakers. I've turned off the air conditioning so that there's nothing else impeding the sound. So let's take a quick listen. All right, here we go. I'm going to start off low, and I'm going to incrementally increase the volume. So we're at nothing right now. Start with the tweeters. just about over half volume. You could already tell the soundstage, my legs were vibrating from the bass. The immersion is insane. You could hear all of the highs really kind of at your ear level coming away from the door. And in addition to that, you could just feel the bass isn't overpowering the sound. It's mixed in perfectly. So the woofers are really driving the lows and the mid-ranges, and then the mid-range dash speakers are really incorporating that immersive sound with the tweeters in the pillar and in the new tweeters in the door. So let's crank it up a little bit. This one's called Martinis on Me. We're going to go a little louder this time. So that was at just about 3/4 full volume, no distortion whatsoever, clean, crisp sound, no fluctuation in any of the highs. The treble quality is on point. The mid-range is super clear. All right, so for this one, we're gonna go full volume. Start off at halfway. This has got a nice high range, mid ranges. That was at full volume, and again, soundstage is incredible. No distortion whatsoever. There are people that are about 50 yards away from me that looked over at the car when I maxed out the volume. This thing's really loud. It really thumps, but it thumps in a way that's not like the car is not rattling. There's no shaking of the mirrors because of the balance is perfect. All right, so for the last test, I'm going to be driving, and I'm going to play the stereo, see if we can hear it. Windows are open. With all 4 windows open. You cannot hear a single thing from the road, even at about 40-45 miles an hour. So even the sound stage isn't affected by the windows being closed or open. The system is just so powerful that with all 4 windows open, you can hear everything crisply without any interference whatsoever. So the test really ran smoothly, and we're going to move on to my final thoughts and kind of give an overall impression of the entire kit on a whole. All right, so I've had the new Alpine system in for about 7 days now, and I want to give my final thoughts and review. So overall, the system is fantastic. I can't recommend this upgrade enough. The improvement in the soundstage is so significant. The mid-range speakers, you could hear so many more crisp mid-range tones coming from the immersive sound when you have that on than you did before. Now don't forget, my car is an SR Plus, so from the factory this speaker is not activated. The rear deck, because I have a 2019, the rear deck speakers are not activated. The pillar tweeters are not activated. So you definitely want to invest, if you have an SR Plus, you definitely want to invest in an activation harness. There are so many out there. They're about between 50 to $100. Definitely worth the investment to turn all those speakers on. I'll tell you right now, the door woofers are so powerful that when I'm driving with the stereo cranking, I can actually feel air rushing past my legs when I have shorts on, which is pretty cool. So definitely check out HEPA King. They not only have the Alpine kit, they also have a focal kit. If you're a focal person, you prefer their equipment, you could have a setup made by them. It's the same exact layout, 3 mid-range speakers, 2 door woofers, and 2 tweeters. Check out HEPAKing.com. If you use code TOPSHELF, you'll save yourself 10% off your order, and you'll also get free shipping. So this is a pretty pricey kit, so definitely use that code, save yourself some money. And if you like this install video, please like, share, subscribe, comment, and let me know what you want to see next. I got a lot of cool mods coming. You can see I'm testing out this screen now. It's not ready for prime time yet, but it will be coming soon. All right, see you in the next one. Take care. Peace out.